All right, everybody, welcome back to The Glass Less Traveled. My name is Mike Very. I'm a certified bourbon steward and founder of the Fox Valley Whiskey Society. We're going to explore and introduce you to America's craft distilleries, microbreweries, industry insiders, and professional imbibers to give you guys the inside scoop on the things you need to be drinking. If you guys are watching via Facebook or YouTube, don't forget to click like and subscribe for new episodes each week. You can also visit us on patreon.com at patreon.com/theglasslesstraveled if you want to help us expand and support us. Tonight we are here with the latest recipient of the American Distilling Institutes Distillery of the Year, Spirit Works Distillery out of Sebastopol, California. And we're chatting with their sales manager, Krista Kempel. Krista, thank you for coming on with us. We see the beautiful stainless steel and copper stills behind you.
Aren't they so beautiful?
What better place to be?
I mean, this is like my little happy place. It's quiet in the distillery. I've got all the equipment and all the booze to myself. There's nothing that will get a room full of distillers gone faster than publicity or.
I know. Well, and you guys are 2 hours behind. Is it 2 or 3 hours?
Two.
It's 2 hours. So it's 5 o'clock there, which is perfect drinking hour. So cheers, Krista. Cheers, everybody that's watching on Facebook or on YouTube. So for those of us who are completely unfamiliar with Spirit Works, tell us about the distillery, how it got started, what you guys make, etc.
Okay. Well, Spirit Works Distillery was founded right here in Sonoma County, California. Like you mentioned, Sebastopol specifically. The founders are the dynamic duo of Timo and Ashby Marshall. They are a married couple who interestingly met on a Greenpeace ship. They were environmental activists in their past life, and Timo's British, and when he came to America, he found a lack of traditionally made sloe gin, and he felt like we just really needed to be exposed to a really good sloe gin in the United States. So, given their environmental past, they wanted to actually be the farmers and grow the botanicals, grow the sloe berries, and then contract out the spirits, right? Like pretty much everyone does. And as they kind of got down that contract distilling rabbit hole, they were just generally shocked at the lack of transparency that was available. Folks wouldn't tell them where they were making it, what they were making it from. So they kind of flipped the idea on its head and ended up opening this distillery with the true complete transparency policy. So we'll invite you in, obviously in safer times, and show you every part of the process, what it's made from, how we make it, what we do with it. We actually do every single step of the process here on site. We make a full wholesale portfolio, which I love presenting because everything builds on each other, right? So we make a vodka, which is distilled from red organic winter wheat, and then that vodka is the base for our gin, and then that gin becomes the base for our sloe gin. So we kind of did the sloe gin process in reverse. To get the best sloe gin, you have to make the best gin, and to make the best gin, you have to have the best base spirit. So from there, that was the sort of original philosophy, and then we started getting creative along the way. Now we make a barrel gin. We make a barrel reserve sloe gin, which we believe is the only one in the entire world.
Oh.
And then we have this terrific whiskey portfolio, which I love because I'm from Kentucky. We make a beautiful soft wheat whiskey. We just released a bourbon, a 4-grain bourbon, which speaks to my heart. And then we have this killer straight rye whiskey.
Yeah.
And those are the items in market. Now we make a ton of other fun things, satellite projects too. And then we actually have quite a robust contract distilling business of our own. So we make a few other pretty nationally known products, but I can't.
Yeah, no, you guys signed the non-disclosure agreement. So one of the things that, and I think we might talk about this a little bit later, but California to me is kind of it's an interesting area to kind of get whiskey from. I'm a bourbon guy. We see pretty much everything is coming from Kentucky. You've got all these little craft distilleries, that are popping up across the country.
Yeah.
You guys are very much so like California oriented. So it's the
Right.
California red winter wheat. You guys get your corners from California, barley from California as well.
Some.
Some
We started
I
out
know
getting it
some
from the
will get it
Midwest.
from like
Yeah.
Wyoming or Minnesota or out east.
Yeah. We
But
always try to get it as close as we can, but
sure,
it's not always entirely
not
possible.
always possible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Spirit Works is a highly awarded distillery in California and one of a growing community of largely female-operated distilleries in the United States. I was fortunate enough last week to talk with Catoctin Creek out of Purcellville, Virginia, which is founded and operated by Becky Harris, who was recently voted as the president of the board of directors of the American Craft Spirits Association. Ashby Marshall, who is floating around there somewhere, we got to see her
Yeah.
see her a little bit ago. She's
Yeah.
floating around there somewhere. Ashby Marshall, along with her husband Timo, founded and built the team at Spirit Works with a mission of not only creating a sustainable grain-to-glass distillery, but also doing everything themselves, including self-fermenting, milling, mashing, and bottling their products. They do this in part with the help of their head distiller, Lauren Patz, who also heads the production team. It's not uncommon to see this in the distilling world, but what is uncommon is to do all of this stuff. And then win award after award after award, on top of it being awarded Distillery of the Year.
Yeah.
It takes talent, it takes skill, and incredible dedication to the craft. Talk to us a bit about Ashby and Timo and what kind of atmosphere they created there at Spirit Works.
Well, I mentioned that they met on a ship, right? A Greenpeace ship with environmental activists. So they're obviously used to a very close, tight-knit group of very passionate, very dedicated individuals. I think that, obviously they seek that out when they're building our team. And then Timo, I think, might have invented the phrase, we run a tight ship. He loves systems. He loves operations. Like SOP might be his favorite word outside of strategy. But they really are so impressive because they've done every single aspect of the job themselves. And then they, find someone to step into that role and then hand down the experience, the expertise, all of the information, and then give that person the empowerment to take that job and run with it.
Sure.
So, for someone like me, I stepped into a sales role. All of the previous documents were there for me. Everything was in place. I had all the things I needed already when I walked into the door. So I think it's probably the most efficient business that I've ever seen. We're a small team. We don't have room or time to make mistakes and do things again.
Yeah.
But there's just that somehow there's that comfort in them knowing exactly what they did to get going and then handing that down to us as a team.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier when we were talking before we went live that, you do have a lot of women that work there. It's awesome to see. Historically speaking, like I said, and, creating bourbon and creating spirits and just distilling in general is, kind of historically been the man's job.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said earlier, Timo does the hiring and he says I just hire the right person for the job.
And most of the time they happen to be women.
And usually they're women.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Usually if I can't get something done, I just have my wife do it.
Yeah.
She usually gets it done much quicker, much more efficiently, and better usually than I do. I have a bit of a temper sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Just take it over and just do it.
I tend to agree, but I'm sure the Glass Less Traveled podcast is not exactly the place for my feminist platform. But no, I would say that absolutely. I mean, anyone gets an opportunity here at Spirit Works. All you have to be as dedicated and passionate and willing to learn and willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
We were a team of 7, and then recently we added a couple of administrative people and a couple of other hands in production, but we really have to kind of spread out and help each other and fill in the gaps. So but the women in the distilling make sense to me. I mean, Ashby has this amazing palate for whiskey.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how all of that got started. And, like I said, Lauren worked under her, and it's kind of just been a natural progression. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it, obviously. But like I said, that was one of the things that drew me to working here. And Timo just said, I mean, I get all this credit for being a feminist, but I really just hire the right
Just
people.
hire the right people. It's funny that you mentioned that, because Ashby having this incredible palate. Obviously one of the big people when we talk about bourbon and we talk about blending and nosing and tasting is Nancy Freely, who's called the Nose. She has this phenomenal palate. It would be, and then you've got all the distilleries in Scotland and Ireland and even down here in Kentucky that have shown that women can oftentimes just do it better. So let's.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of super tasters are women.
Yeah, are women. Yeah.
Like I said, save that for my feminist.
Yeah. Shout out. The American Distilling Institute recently named Works Distillery the 2020 Distillery of the Year. How does it feel to not only be recognized, but to be the recipient of such an award? What has it been like there at the distillery since this was announced just last month?
Yeah, it was I guess a little over 3 weeks ago. And I think, I mean, I just know that Timo and Ashby are just so blown away. They're completely humbled and honored. They have so much respect for all of the fine distillers in the United States, and to be held up as like the best example of that. I mean, I just think it absolutely literally blows their mind.
Yeah.
I have to say, like you mentioned, we're no strangers to winning awards. So we kind of like have this idea and this confidence. So we know we are good at what we do.
Yeah.
But, to see the all-encompassing award, I mean, for them, it has to feel so amazing because this is a mission and philosophy that they started out with, 8 years ago and have just stayed the course. It's so easy in this industry to follow a trend or to do this thing or that thing. And they have just like they know what they wanted to build and they built it. And now to be recognized for that as an all-encompassing thing. I mean, they're still, I would say giddy, but, just really honored and truly humbled and just so excited. And, for us as a team, like I said, we are 7 people. So even though we didn't all start the distillery or we haven't all been here from the beginning, we all do so much every day to actually be a part of it, that it really does feel amazing to each and every one of us. Like we know that we contributed in some way,
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are the most awarded distillery in California.
Well, I mean, I'm a salesperson, so sure, I'm going to say yes.
So sure, of course you are.
I don't have any facts to back it up, but yeah.
I know you guys have won other award. What's in the cabinet that you guys have?
Yeah. So
you guys have collected?
Just consistently, our slow gin. We just were named by Wine Enthusiast as like the best flavored gin in I guess in the market in the United States. We've won the Good Food Award for that same slow gin 2 different years, 2018 and 2020. We win a lot of individual medals for our spirits, but this is the first to say it's all working,
Right. Yeah.
So it's so exciting. It's just
we'll get to the slow gin here in a little bit because I know I'm not the only one that has questions about it. I do want to remind everybody, if you guys are watching via Facebook or via YouTube, please feel free to comment. I'll post the questions up on the screen so that Krista can answer any questions you guys have. When we mention Sonoma County in California, we think wine, not whiskey.
Right.
We're starting to hear more and more about terroir when we speak of whiskey, specifically in the craft spirits world. California has been shown to be perfect for growing grapes, as evident by the seemingly countless awards California wine has won over the decades. But some may be unfamiliar with its ability to grow grains like rye, corn, wheat, and barley. Does the terroir, the soil, the climate, the landscape of California impart its own unique flavors on your whiskey that is noticeably different than something we would find on the shelves elsewhere in the United States?
I understand the comparison, obviously, to terroir, but I think truly that the grain to glass process is what actually creates the uniqueness. Given the environmental background, the reason that we decided to source local and to buy organic things was more a sustainability and environmental factor, versus trying to achieve a certain flavor profile. But I mean, we're in California, and not to brag, but everything grows well here. I mean,
True.
we're the breadbasket. It's kind of, I wouldn't say easy because I'm not a farmer, and it's easy, but it's California, so we're going to get good products no matter what. But having that control over every step of the process, we get that organic wheat berry, and we mill it to the exact size that we want. We pitch the yeast. We get that fermentation exactly where we want it. We handle everything in distillation. I showed you. It just
the stills behind you.
that 21 plate system gives us the opportunity to get up to that 190 proof in one pass, so we can maintain this creamy texture and this beautiful flavor that our vodka has. So I would say that terroir statement is less applicable than the grain to glass process. I particularly have a thought about barrel aging things in California that leads to more expression of flavor from the grains, just because versus Kentucky, where you have that expansion and contraction, that cold morning, that hot afternoon, that cool evening, you get that really aggressive aging. We have a really nice hot temperature here to give you that, but we also have a more consistent aging. And I think that more subtle aging process actually lets the grains that we do use shine through a bit more at the end. But that's sort of my own philosophy.
I would almost be curious to see, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through Facebook. So somebody commented, and I apologize. So when you comment on Facebook, if you don't allow StreamYard, the service, to use your name, it just pops up as Facebook user. Yeah. So I'm trying to find it on here, but
it's not my dad.
For whatever reason, I'm unable to find it. So somebody says, firstly, hello, Michael. Secondly, congrats on all of the Lee Griffith. Oh, Lee. So Lee Griffith is our buddy down there at Boot Hill Distillery down there in Dodge City, Kansas.
Nice.
Hey, Lee, thanks for watching. FYI, I finished the Boot Hill, and I had some samples go out to some of my buddies. It says, firstly, hello, Michael. Secondly, congrats on all the awards. How do you overcome or deal with the challenges of 3-tier distribution?
Well, I have worked in spirit sales for going on 8 years now. So I understand that relationship with the distributor is, it's much like a marriage. You really have to be a partner with someone that you're confident in, and that maybe we'll speak to a conversation later about why we don't have wider distribution. But I really make sure that I foster that relationship with the distributor so that they know and understand us. I'm not going to jump into a portfolio that has 2,000 SKUs and we're just going to get buried because we're not a low price vodka, and we're not like a highly sought after cult following. So I we work with Winebow here in California. I'm on the phone, every week, if not multiple times a week, with my brand manager. And I just try to foster that relationship with my distributor, and I am very active in the market. The accounts know me when I walk in. I walk into my retailers, I merchandise. I think it's integral to have a person with a face that they know representing your distillery.
Yeah, it's so here in Illinois we have an issue, obviously, getting anything shipped to Illinois, especially when it comes to spirits. We've been fortunate recently with Spirit Hub, an app and a website that you can use to obviously get spirits shipped into Illinois. It allows us to get things like Boot Hill. It allows us to get things like our friend Alan Bishop and Jolie down there at
hi Alan.
So we're Alan, if you're watching, hello, and Jolie, if you're watching, hello. It allows us to kind of get the things that we might not have otherwise been able to get.
Yeah.
Let's. Oh, there we go. He said, I like to call it a love-hate relationship.
Well, yeah.
So we've been very fortunate in that sense. And, here on the Glass Less Traveled, I solely focus on craft distilleries. I try not to do anything, the big guys. I think the biggest distillery we had was Wilderness Trail or MGP, depending on your view of craft spirits. So that was, it's great talking to those guys. But we really try to focus on the smaller guys, and, to be able to, I guess distribution is really your hardest challenge as a craft distiller when it comes to, getting your product out into the world.
Yeah.
I know we talked with Lee, that, it's tough, especially being in Kansas or on the West Coast, getting things here to the, to the Midwest or even on the East Coast. It's a tough thing to do.
It's this catch-22, right? Like, you either put the people out in the market before the sales in hopes that the sales will come, but if you don't have the sales, you can't pay the people. So it's probably not worth the risk for a brand of our size, like at this time, just because we can put those people in market.
Sure.
I can do a lot, but I can't be everywhere. Especially now when I can't travel. Man, it's killing me. I feel like.
Well, not only that, I mean, yeah, we're dealing with this whole, coronavirus thing. We're dealing with, limited travel. We're dealing with, people staying at home. But on the plus side of that, you see these, spirit sales just in general are up across the board. Beer sales, craft beer sales are up across the board. So it's nice in a way. I'm sure the craft industry is, surviving okay through all of this. But we're still trying to get more people to buy your product, because let's face it, Buffalo Trace doesn't need any more of my money.
Right. Yeah. No, we really appreciate it, because the biggest hit for us has been that our tasting room isn't open. And fortunately, we had Timo Marshall on the board of the California Distilling. I don't remember the title of it, but he helped get those bottle sales for distilleries enacted. So we draw a lot of folks to our tasting room normally. And right now we're able to take online orders and ship within California, but we can't really have people in the space and show them a guided tasting or a cocktail the way that we did pre-corona. And hopefully that we'll be able to do again.
I told you it was going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. I'm still on, right?
Yeah, you're still on. Yeah. Well, sorry, everybody. This is I think the third time this has happened now. We have some shoddy Wi-Fi here at the house as well. We have a lot of people on all at one time. But my wife was in the other room. I was able to hear you. Can keep going. So thank you, Krista, for continuing.
I tried to pull an awkward silence.
Yeah. No, you did a great job. I was listening to you. I had to reboot my computer so that I could get Wi-Fi back on, and now I'm at full bars. I was hovering really low there for just a little bit. So we talked about the distribution side of things. We talked about the distillery. Hi, Ashby. I want to talk about Slow Gin. It has an interesting backstory. Can you tell us about Timo and his connection to this gin? And what is Slow Gin?
What is Slow Gin? Okay, so what Slow Gin is it is a liqueur or cordial in England, where Timo is from. It's a very traditional thing to do for each family to have their own proprietary, if you will, sloe gin. The sloe berry is in the plum family. It's a very small, very tart, some would say bitter berry that grows wild on the blackthorn bush. And what you would do in your family around the holidays to make sloe gin is you would go out and buy the best gin you could find, or the biggest bottle of gin, and you would let it sit over sloe berries for an estimated time with your specific family recipe. And then you would have sloe gin, which some people would then bottle, and you would give it out to your friends or your family members during the holidays. And Timo started making this sloe gin with his grandmother when he was a teenager. He doesn't even remember how old he was when he started making it. And they had this, special family recipe. And so when he and Ashby were together and he was in the States, he was just, like I said, really shocked that what we thought of as sloe gin in the United States was this weird bottle of like bright red de Cooper flavored product. And he was like, no, like we need a proper sloe gin. He actually, well, I think it's the cutest thing. I don't know, I'm romantic, but he actually went to Ashby's parents to ask for their blessing to marry her. And when they accepted, he offered them a bottle of the family recipe sloe gin, and they toasted and celebrated. So it's a really, special thing to the family. And so we luckily have this great recipe, and it was really important for them to make the best gin, to make the best sloe gin, and to do that, you had to make the best base spirit. Yeah. So we kind of started with sloe gin and worked backwards and then back up again. So sloe gin, ours is around 27% alcohol. So it's a cordial. It's something meant to be sipped. It's wonderful in cocktails. I actually use it as a substitute for like a sweet vermouth in like Manhattan, because I like a whiskey sloe gin. We do add sugar to our sloe gin, just enough to bump it up to the level of classification as a cordial, but not too much, because you're going to retain that like bright, sharp bitterness that is sloe gin.
Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with it. So I feel like it's one of those things that I'm going to have to like search out now.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, we make the best one in the U.S., but you can find a few from England that are good. I think Sipsmith makes a really nice traditional sloe gin. I know they're available in your area.
Benny's has really kind of been this place for us that, here in the Midwest, it's if it's not your local liquor store, that really can kind of been like a sleeper. Some of them have been, they carry stuff. You walk in, you're like, what? I can't believe you have this just sitting out on the shelf. But Benny's really, fortunately, we're able to get stuff from all over the world, all over the United States. And I know we talked about this already, and I think you kind of went into this. This is more of on the distribution side. California whiskey is something that we here in Illinois might not have a chance to try anytime soon, especially now with COVID wreaking havoc on not only on-premise sales, but the supply chain and travel. Does Spiritworks have a plan to introduce new markets to their spirits so that we might start to see something here in Illinois?
Yeah, call me. So that's what, kind of what I was saying is that, your partnership with your distributor is like a family. It's a marriage situation. And so if you have any distributors out there listening, give me a call. We can work something out.
Momentum Beverage, Matt. I'm sure you guys are probably listening or watching. We'll have to make sure, because the California whiskey that I'm sipping on right now is very good. I do enjoy it. But I would really love to see Spiritworks, especially after winning Distillery of the Year. I'd love to see you guys on the shelves out here. Yeah. Remember, everybody, too, you can also you can either call or just talk to your liquor store to see if they can get it. Just ask for it. That's all you have to do. The liquor store owner can work with their distributor to get it, and the distributor can work with the distillery to get it. So especially now with craft distilleries, really needing our help more now than ever. Like I said before, Buffalo Trace does not need any more of my money. The craft distilleries are the ones that in order to be here tomorrow, we need to support them today. I want to talk about the bourbon that you guys have, specifically your 4-grain. Using a 4-grain mash bill can be more difficult than the consumer may realize. Batching, calculating, blending, and mixing just the right proportions of corn, rye, wheat, and barley to make something that is not only palatable but tastes good requires a mastery of not only the distillation science but of blending as well. That doesn't include the time it takes tasting, throwing away, redistilling, remeasuring, etc. to make it just right. Talk to us about the new release 4-grain bourbon and what goes into making this whiskey.
So, Spiritworks has been around for 8 years now, and our bourbon is a 4-year product. So I think it's the first new release we've had, at least in my wholesale portfolio, in a couple of years. So I think that extra time really gave us an opportunity to know our grains and and learn our other whiskeys. I mean, the first whiskey that we made was a California style wheat whiskey. It was a no-brainer for us because we had the wheat in-house already, and that wheat whiskey aged, and we were able to taste it throughout the aging process and understand that wheat whiskey and how it would blend with other things. And then the same with our rye whiskey, we've had that in market for a while, so then knowing how those wheat whiskeys and those rye whiskeys laid in together. And then once we actually found, and it was quite a process to find just the right organic California local corn that we wanted to use. Once we had that in-house, and we already had in our minds the way that those other grains work together. So we were able to kind of, I don't want to say guess because much more goes into it than that, but sort of kind of know because of how much we handle the process. I mean, we have full control over every part of it. So that experience with all of our other whiskeys allowed us to kind of do that. We did do 2 different mash bills. We did a high rye mash bill and we did a high wheat mash bill because we wanted to, see how those did differently. And what we actually found out is they actually worked best together. So it's actually a blend of 2 different mash bills in our 4-grain bourbon.
So this one isn't. So your 4-grain isn't, specifically distilled all in one, all 4 grains all in one one pod. You just said, you know what? Let's kind of let's put it all together and see how it goes and see what it tastes like. And that's exactly where Ashby comes in and that phenomenal palate. She knew. And
I absolutely love our bourbon. But it is different than Kentucky bourbon, so that's probably what I love about it.
So how long is what's your maximum aging period for your bourbon? And the reason I ask is because the one that I'm drinking right now from California, I posed a question last night on the Fox Valley Whiskey Society. What are some unpopular opinions about whiskey? And I had commented, I said young whiskey that's aged, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 years can be just as good, if not better, than these guys that are aging at 12.
Yeah, for sure. And you froze on me, so I hope I'm not cutting you off.
In just a second. What do you guys do as far as like aging? Like what's the maximum that you guys have aged to? Do you have anything in barrels right now that is maybe a little bit older than anything you've released yet?
Not in the bourbon. Our bourbon just came to 4 years this year. So we've got some that's just a little over 4 years. Our wheats and our ryes. We have some that are getting more up there in age. We do have a private barrel cask program. This is what I am drinking right now, which is this is a rye whiskey from 2015 that pulled on 623. So it's still in barrel. But yeah, I mean, we've been making whiskey since then. So we've got some really cool stuff that's aging. Just kind of waiting to see how it goes. We're always dipping in and tasting things and always pushing for something a little more aged for in market. 5 years, almost 5 years is about as far as I've been able to get out of the production team. They're greedy. They want to keep all the aged stuff for themselves, which is fair.
You said you guys do a private barrel program there. So we're working right now. The Fox Valley Whiskey Society, a very small group of us, is working with Journeyman Distillery in 3 Oaks, Michigan. On just a small 15-gallon barrel, which we've all pitched in for. We'll get 80 something bottles out of it. Do you guys do something like that as well?
We don't age in any smaller barrels. I have had accounts split single barrels. So for example, Hardwater in San Francisco is an on-premise account, and they split a single barrel with Ledger's Liquor over in Berkeley because they're not really competing for one another. And our yields on those barrels, just depending on what proof you go out, can get one account, it can get overwhelming for a small account. So we'll let people switch, and share a barrel.
Sure. So you guys can, so for those of you out there who maybe want to do like a barrel pick or something like that, you guys can certainly.
Yeah, we have single barrels of rye, and then I have a program called California Whiskey that is basically a way for you to look at the mash bill, different mash bills. So if you want to, a high rye, a little bit of bourbon, a little bit of the wheat, you can kind of look at mash bills and see what you like and pick something from there. Right now, I've got 5 samples out in market. 2 of them are just straight rye whiskeys, and then the other 3 are those California whiskeys. One has a good amount of our high rye bourbon, and one has a good amount of our high wheat bourbon. Yeah. So you can see sort of, it's almost like it's the closest you'll come to getting to blend your own barrel, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely something that we'll have to look into Fox Valley Whiskey Society. Yeah. We've got 1,400 members, and we've got to be able to pool some of us together to do a barrel pick.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about aging whiskey.
Yes.
Aging whiskey is somewhat of a science that has bits of luck, guesswork, and trial and error built in. Experimentation with aging whiskey inside the barrel is not uncommon within the distilling world. Most of the big guys in Kentucky choose to experiment with temperature, humidity, light, charring, etc. You've taken an interesting step in barrel aging, along with a handful of other distilleries, including Copper and Kings, and Blackened American Whiskey, which is Metallica's brand, in that you guys actually experiment with sound.
We do.
Tell me, is there a difference between a whiskey that's aged listening to Led Zeppelin compared to a whiskey that's aged listening to Michael Jackson?
Absolutely. We haven't compared those 2 specifically, but I think the really cool thing, the approach that we took is a little different than the other distilleries that you mentioned, in the fact that this was like a fun experiment for us. It was never meant to be like a pillar of our brand. We're not trying to speed up anything or really change anything. We really just wanted to have fun. I'm sure there's a huge amount of scientific proof behind it. We don't have any of that. We just wanted to have fun. And like, as I mentioned earlier, each batch that we make fills 2 barrels and then some change. So we are able to fill the 2 same type of barrels with the exact same distillate, put them side by side in the same space in the warehouse, have one listening to music and one not. So that gives us a control. So you can actually taste the difference. You can taste the difference in whether it had music or whether it didn't. Now, the only comparison that we've done where you could taste like one band over the other band is that I think the first 2 whiskey barrels were done blind tasting, all 4 barrels. One was a bluegrass band, The Devil Makes 3. Have you heard of them? I don't know. The Devil Makes 3.
Sounds real familiar.
And then the control barrel, and then they had the Nutcracker, and then the Nutcracker control barrel.
The Nutcracker, like the musical, the Nutcracker?
Yes. So you have the bluegrass band, its control, the Nutcracker, its control. And in blind tastings, overwhelmingly people chose the Nutcracker. So the only,
really?
information we could take away from that is it's probably like aggressive drumming that could have caused that, but it was so overwhelming that people liked it. Now, mentioning Led Zeppelin, let's see, back in January, they pulled samples of the Led Zeppelin and the control barrel, and I think I prefer. They were very different. I absolutely, hands down, like they were completely different. I preferred the non-Led Zeppelin, but that may be a reflection more of my feelings about Led Zeppelin than my feelings.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's definitely a difference, like 100%. I just love the fact that we have a control and an experiment barrel, so a test and a control. It's really cool.
So, Andrew Meyer, hello, Andrew. So Andrew is one of our Patreon supporters, a longtime listener, a good friend of mine, and he is now a certified bourbon steward. So congratulations, Andrew, again. He wants to know, can you tell us about the cooperage? Where are you guys getting your barrel? Is it Is it from, the same place that everybody is getting their barrels from?
It
Or
was.
do you guys use someone local?
Yeah, well, both. So initially we were, like most everyone else, we were working with independent stave barrels. Um,
Mhm.
And then one of the cool things about, being in wine country is we do have barrel producers here, and a local producer called Charlevoix were in the market to start making spirit barrels, and they came to us, and it was a really great opportunity because, we love having control of every part of the process. They actually let us take part in designing the barrels that we wanted to use. So much of our original
very cool.
is in independent stave, but within the past couple of years, we've been able to use this barrel that our production team helped design for us. So, but all full size barrels, no smaller barrels or anything like that.
Rats. It's
I know.
it's really
Sorry.
interesting that you mentioned that, because I don't this is episode 23, so we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But so far I haven't heard of anybody using a barrel that they've kind of designed. And I know, Andrew, I know your next question is going to be, what do you mean, what goes into designing a barrel? What goes into designing a barrel, and why choose the specifics that you chose?
Yeah, I didn't choose it. The production team did, but I know we had a hand in just because they were making wine barrels and they wanted to transition into spirit barrels, selling, because they wanted to have a bigger client base. And so we were able to say, okay, this is what we want in a barrel, and sort of get more into the specifics than you would with a larger company,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's kind of another way for us to know what we're putting into the barrel and then know how that's going to respond.
Yeah. So you guys, quite literally, you have, aside from maybe the grains that you might source from out of state, you guys have control of from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Even from, putting, building the stills and everything. It's pretty impressive to, to see out of one of the big 95%, down in Kentucky, let alone a craft distillery that is just like, we just took the reins and just did everything on our own.
And it's very soothing to me as a control fanatic. I love it.
Right. We're at about the 45-minute mark. Again, if you guys, we got a great viewership going on right now. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Please feel free to comment if you have any questions for Krista or anybody there at Spiritworks. Being a craft distillery and having the ability to experiment with small batches of grains like triticale and spelt gives you the opportunity to toss things in the trash if they don't work out without spending a fortune. This small-scale production means that as a distillery, you're able to release limited availability runs of experimental spirits to market. What kinds of experiments has the distilling team brought to the tasting room at Spiritworks?
First of all, we never give anything away. We're too small to waste anything. I guess I would say, with the exception of initial gin product development, which were things that ended up being thrown down the garbage. We really do find some way to do something with everything. Now, we're super lucky in the fact that we have this almost cult-like following. We have this very robust spirits club. They get different selections from us 4 times a year. We offer them things that we don't offer in market. We offer them exclusives, limited releases, things like that. So that helps, alleviate the risk for us on those things. One of my the first event I ever worked here was the day we released a single malt, and it was a winter release. And so we had this holiday party. We sold out of the single malt in one day. In one day, it was gone, because that's how our dedicated following, they just trust us. They trust us, and they're along for the ride. They want to have fun. They want to experiment. They want to learn from us. So, and they just love having these fun, exclusive bottles on their bar. Now, again, like I said, we tend to know the product that we're working with first. But one example of something I can think of that was super cool, experimentally, we've made a rye vodka.
Really?
Yeah, and I think
Interesting.
we're doing another one for the club later on this year. But then once we had kind of dialed in that rye vodka process that we liked, we were able to build on that and make an aquavit. So we were able to understand the flavor profile and what we were working with there, and add in those winter botanicals, and get something cool with caraway and those kind of savory spices. And those kind of things that we just offer them. They're either club only, or we sell them out of the tasting room.
Sure.
I'll get things in the market, like we did a Navy strength gin that went out to market and is super popular. But we can kind of play around with things like that because we have people that we know are kind of game for it, and they're very vocal to us too. They tell us what they'd like to see, and we just have a great relationship with our club members. I mean, some of our club members have been with us, since we started the club. So they definitely have an opinion, and we value that because they've been supporting us, and we like to give them something cool to thank them for committing to purchase from us 4 times a year. And some of them get 3 bottles 4 times a year. I mean, that's amazing. We've done some barrel finishes. Off the top of my head, I can think of we did a cognac finish. We've done a sherry finish. We've done a port barrel finish. And we actually were able to age a whiskey in sloe gin barrels. So we really do like to reuse.
Reuse.
Yeah.
So Andrew, hopefully that answers your question. He asked, do you swap barrels with local wineries or breweries for experimentation? Being in wine country, you have an abundance of wineries to choose from. Is there one particular that you guys work with pretty regularly to get barrels from?
No, we tend to give barrels more than we get them. We'll sell them after we use them because we're going into all new cooperage. Sure. But we work with a lot of breweries. I mean, we're here in this complex called the Barlow in Sebastopol. And Golden State Cider is here. Woodford Brewing. I mean, you can throw a rock at 5 breweries from where I'm sitting. So we always have people that are up for fun projects and stuff like that. And if we have the time and the bandwidth to do it, we will. Now, with our contract business being more robust, it's a little bit harder for us to do things like that. But some of the coolest things we have come from those kind of partnerships,
Yeah. The Barlow is kind of an interesting area that you guys have there, and I haven't seen a picture of it, but from your website, what it's described as just kind of like this area where almost like a little downtown area where it's just there's little shops and there's a distillery, there's there's a cidery, there's a brewery, there's just all this little stuff that you can stop to and visit. Not that I need a reason to visit California. I love California, but that gives me more of a reason to go there.
You could literally stay in West County here and get out to the bay and see the ocean in 15 minutes. You can walk around downtown Sebastopol. I mean, California is overwhelming in general, but it's definitely worth the trip. You could buy organic clothing, get your hair cut, have some flowers and some coffee, a cheese plate.
All within walking distance.
It's pretty cool.
How you can add rum to that list. Talk to us about Navy strength rum.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mentioned earlier we don't throw anything away. So I guess it was last fall, I believe, we got a shipment of sugar that was meant to be for our slow gin. And it wasn't suitable for the slow gin. It wasn't the right type of sugar. But, something like that with those goods, once you open it, you can't send it back. So we're like, well, what do we do with it? We have a fermentable product here. Like, let's, what do we do? So they were like, let's make some rum. And, like I said, we have this spirits club and they're so excited to get something like that from us. That's totally unexpected and unique. So Timo and Ashby have, the sailing or the ship background. So we did Navy strength. So we have some fun with some overproof spirits and kind of venture out of like our comfort zone, but make something really cool. I'm happy. It's given me an excuse to drink daiquiris for the last month. It's
You need an excuse?
my quarantini, I guess.
Yeah, you're quarantini. Trademark that so I don't steal it.
I know.
So
I didn't
what is
quarantini? That's for sure.
Quarantini? What is the straight when we talk about Navy strength? So you've mentioned the Navy strength gin, and now we have the Navy strength rum. What does Navy strength mean? Like, what's the proof on that? On that.
This is, I have this one near me. So it's 57%. So that's 114. Yeah. And we get to have a little fun with the labels. Yeah. This Navy strength gin is amazing. Yeah. It's fun. We get to have some creativity, but because we do keep things efficient and, we like to have consistency in our product. That's one of the, I think, could be a trap in the craft world is inconsistency. So we like to maintain that where we can, and then let our creativity show in those special releases. And, it's kind of fun, and it really delights our following. The first day I came here for a job interview, Lauren Patz was here, and I knew her really well, from the outside world. And she's a very smart, quiet person. And here she is in this loud tropical shirt, and there was island music playing. And I'd known her for years, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. And she was making the rum that day, so I got to taste it right out of the tank.
So I'm sure that was quite an experience to taste high proof rum right off the still.
Yeah, I was like, okay, buckle up.
Put your seatbelt on. This is going to be tough.
Yeah. I think we're down to.
So that was
6 cases left.
Real quick, this club that you guys have.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So you guys have kind of like sold out of it pretty quick.
It was a club release, and we had it open to the club only for the first month, which is traditionally what we do. We'll put it in the highest tier of the Spirits Club. And then once all of those folks have been taken care of, we'll open it up to the rest of the club so that they have an opportunity to buy it. And then if there's anything left, we'll sell it to the general public.
I need to become a part of this club, and I just need you to ship me olive oil.
Gotta move to California.
Yeah, olive oil.
Gotta move to California.
I know. So, one of these days, maybe we'll retire there.
Or we can lobby for direct-to-consumer shipping, but don't tell my distributor I said that.
Yeah, no, we won't do that. That would be that wouldn't be a good idea for your distributor to drop you guys because of that. So yeah, I know that would. Yeah, I know. So as you guys know out there who watch the show and listen to the podcast, I do send all of the questions in advance, so you have time to prepare, and we have talking notes. There is one question I leave off. There's always one question that I leave off, and it puts some people there. It's always that moment of like, oh God, what is he going to ask? Is it something that I can't answer? So there's no time to prepare for this, Krista. Are you ready?
And where's the Jeopardy music?
As a Californian, well, you're a Midwesterner, but as somebody who lives in California, who has a good grip on the food, and beverage scene, what's the big deal with In-N-Out Burger?
Well, I'm a Shake Shacker, so I mean, In-N-Out, I'll be roasted at the spit here in California every time I say it. I love Shake Shack. I think that it's the style of the burger, it's the consistency, it's the entire experience. In-N-Out, I don't know how they've existed on those terrible fries. I don't want a natural French fry. I need chemicals on my French fry. I mean,
yeah, I know.
The burger's fine. I like the burger, but no, that fry, forget it. McDonald's makes better fries than them.
Oh, McDonald's is the best fry in fast food.
Yeah, but I'm happy that we've had Shake Shack has moved from LA. They've got locations in LA, and then I have one where I live here in the North Bay, and I think they just opened one in San Francisco too. So it was a long wait, but yeah. What is the deal?
You got your Shake Shack. Yeah, I don't know. I've had an In-N-Out burger. I've been to California a couple times. I don't get it either.
It's
I was
fine.
hoping that maybe you could tell me like maybe what I'm missing, and apparently I'm just not a part of the
Yeah,
group of people that is keeping In-N-Out burger in business.
maybe it's the Midwestern in us that we just, I can't
It's the
tolerate
Midwesterners and
soggy fry.
yeah. I know. Me either. So we're up on our hour. Thank you everybody who joined us. I want to thank Krista for joining us tonight and talking with us about Spirit Works Distillery.
Look,
I know, Kayla, you do have a fan. You can find Spirit Works on shelves all over California and the West Coast, on social media at Spirit Works Distillery, and at the distillery at 6790 McKinley Street in Sebastopol, California. Krista, before we log off, stay on after we end the broadcast. But do you have anything you want to finish with?
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting craft. I mean, it's amazing. You reached out to us like the minute after we won the award, and that was just so wonderful. Everything I said is probably located somewhere on our website. So if I talk too fast, or if I got distracted, you can go to spiritworksdistillery.com. Follow us on Instagram, Spirit Works Distillery, Facebook, and we tweet, or sometimes we tweet.
Yeah, I tweet every once in a while. Yeah.
But Instagram, we find our sweet spot.
Instagram to Facebook. And the website is on the YouTube page, spiritworksdistillery.com. I want to thank everyone who tunes in each week or listens to us on the go on our podcast at The Glass Less Traveled. Our Patreon supporters, Andrew, thank you for Lee from Boot Hill Distillery for joining us tonight. Kayla and everybody at the Fox Valley Whiskey Society. Next week, we'll be back with Jeff Schwartz, a.k.a. Whiskey Fellow, along with a special guest. We're going to be drinking some Irish whiskey next week, and we're going to be reviewing that. And we will be back the following week with Sam Nash Green, who is the author of literally the book on whiskey. So stay tuned, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Krista, hang out for a couple more minutes. Everybody, cheers, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks, Mike.